If you've only ever followed the Elega Corp channel here on YouTube, then you may not know about gameFINITY. gameFINITY was a show that I did on what is now the IndieJacob channel. At that time, it was called Didja Cades. And it was a show that was pretty short-lived, but it was meant to explore the video game industry. It was very Nintendo focused. And I made the show for two reasons. One, at the time that I had made it, Jacob was having, I guess I'll call them some doubts about his channel and his presence on YouTube. And I wanted to inspire him to come back and continue creating content because I really liked his content. I think he's a really talented guy. His channel's link is in the description, by the way. You should definitely go check it out. It is ultimately gameFINITY's home before here. But I thought that I would go ahead and archive the show here on the Elega Corp channel so that it's not permanently lost. You know, Jacob wanted to take a different direction with his channel, and he wanted it to be more focused on his content, which totally makes sense. gameFINITY is really important to Elega as well, though. You know, the other reason that I really created the show was so that I could start getting out into the gaming community as more than just a unpublished software developer. Because I've been interested in game design for a long, long time, and I started Age of Nomads, this real-time strategy game project, and it is currently on hiatus. I've ended up having to pursue some other priorities, but video games are absolutely a part of the Elga Corp strategy, and as well as just a part of who I am personally. I grew up with video games. They're a part of my childhood. I love creating them. It's been my lifelong dream to create them since I was a teenager. So I will always be creating things that are at least game-like. You know, I'll always have some interest in creating these interesting interactive experiences because they made such a difference on me personally. You know, with strategy games, it taught me a lot whenever I was a kid about economics, and it taught me a lot about, I guess, thinking more deeply about the world and the universe and physics and characters and storytelling and all of those things. And all of that was wonderful. And I think it also sparked a lot in my own personal imagination, the way that I imagine it does for lots of people who get into video games of almost any kind. So gameFINITY really represents all of those things, and it also represents Elga Corp's beginning, even though it was not originally a part of Elga Corporation. It was really kind of more my own personal project, but it really does represent Elga Corp's beginnings in a lot of ways because it shows an effort to create content that is centered around this thing that I love, that is video games, and that is interactivity. And ultimately, I think with the Nintendo focus, it goes back to like a childlike imagination, because Nintendo is always pushing the envelope. They're always doing new things. They're always pushing the industry forward in so many different ways. And as a company that began as toy makers, it just makes so much sense if you want to create a playfulness in how someone experiences and how they learn and how they explore both themselves and ideas about the world. You know, I think that talking about Nintendo is a good way to start that, honestly, because I think that they've made just such a massive impact on the industry and in many ways upon the world. I know that sounds kind of cheesy or weird or strange, but I mean, if you think about it, there are so many things we would not have if it were not for the innovation at Nintendo. So with gameFINITY talking a lot about it, and also just talking about the industry at large at the time whenever I was making these videos, I think that you'll look back at the show as it exists on a playlist here on the channel, and you will kind of reimagine where the industry was at that time, which was only a short while ago at the time I'm making this video, but by the time you watch this, maybe it'll be a lot longer. But yeah, you can look back on the industry and, you know, you can imagine where it was at the time and where it went from where these videos were. You'll also be able to see whether or not predictions I made or, you know, overall industry directions I predicted have come true. And you know, maybe even after making this video, we will continue to see whether or not all of that comes true. So it's a lot of fun to kind of go back sometimes and watch old content. That's something that I also recommend that you go and do with YouTubers in general, by the way, because YouTube channels are always very trend and current event focused so much of the time. And I can tell you that YouTube creators really appreciate you going back and watching their older stuff. Even if it's not always 100% relevant, I think you'll find that there's a lot to enjoy with whoever your favorite YouTubers are if you go back into their archives and you watch their older content. And you get to see their progression. You know, if you like them as a personality, you always get to see how they've advanced over time and how they've altered the direction of their channel. And that's always kind of interesting, especially if you're a content creator yourself. So without further ado, this is meant to be the very first video in the gameFINITY re-upload playlist. I've made some small tweaks to the show, very, very small. I may have altered a few things as far as gameplay footage in a couple spots in a couple of the episodes. I've also altered the end card so that they don't have their previous end card anymore. They'll now have just a generic gameFINITY end card. But aside from that, this is all the original content. Hopefully you'll watch the entire playlist and have a good time. Enjoy. Thanks for watching.